Coming up on the Paper Talk today, shock, horror, some players may be unhappy with the manager's training methods. Is this 2019, 2021 or 2022 all over again? We'll be getting into that. Also, Nemanja Matic has given an interview where he's given us a little behind the scenes look at what goes on in the dressing room, and it ain't pretty. Let's check it out. Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and the weather, a bit like my mood, it's pretty grim, to be honest with you. So if you've got your parkers, put them on. And you might even need to put your hood up. Loads of stories to get through, none of them very positive, I'm not going to lie. Just the first things first, obviously. We are going to be hearing from Eric Ten Hag later on today. I think the manager's press conference is around 12 o'clock, a little bit earlier. So we'll be covering that. So make sure you check out all our socials and you'll be able to see what the manager has to say about Manchester United and the squad. But it seems like there is a little bit of disharmony. Now, I just want to get into this because Cave Solikol, if I'm getting his name right, forgive me if I'm not, from Sky, had a report last night where he said that basically around up to 50% or half the dressing room were unhappy with Eric Ten Hag, with his training methods, some of them questioning why they're being made to run as much as they are in training, which I find baffling because it's pretty obvious why you're being made to run is because you need to, because you're getting outrun in most games. I mean, last season, Eric Ten Hag was being praised for getting his players to run, because you remember after the Brentford game where Brentford players had run 13 kilometres more than United players, so we had them all in for extra training the next day and he ran with them. They all went on a 13-kilometre run and everyone was going, oh, that's great, the manager's getting them running, he's joining in, what a wonderful thing. And the next game, we beat Liverpool 2-1. However, this season it's not been like that. So Cave had this report saying that the players are unhappy or half the dressing room has lost faith in him, questioning his methods. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure how much I put into this report because I know that Sky usually do have their reliable sources and you can trust them for a lot of stories, but this seems like one of those where it could be true or it might just be a bit of an exaggeration. I'd expect that a lot of the team aren't too giddy and happy about the fact that we're having our worst start to a Premier League season, I think, ever. We've lost 10 out of 21 games. We've been beaten by the likes of Arsenal, by the likes of Spurs, by the likes of Newcastle, not to mention Brighton and Crystal Palace, of course. It hasn't been a good season. So I bet there are one or two players that are sort of questioning that and going, you know, are we on the right path here? What's going on? This isn't great. Does this mean he's lost half the dressing room? I'm not so sure. Because the thing with Cave is, whilst he does have his sources, I can't sort of forget last year, or was it in March, when I think it was around the 22nd of March, when he came on the telly and said at 9 o'clock, oh yeah, the bids have been submitted, the third bids have been submitted by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos, and Sheikh Jassim's Qatari bid has gone in as well. And then 45 minutes later he went, oh, we've had a development. The bids haven't been submitted. We were hearing reports they had been. So I always, ever since then, I've been a little bit sceptical on some of his sources because I think, is it true or not? It might be. And it feels like it's one of those where you could go, yeah, I bet there are a few players unhappy. Does that mean Eric Ten Hag's lost the dressing room? I'm not so sure. But to back it up somewhat, Dave McDonnell has done a story as well. In the Mirror, Disco Dave, who we've had on the channel, he's talking about how the players feel like, some players feel that Eric Ten Hag should bring Jadon Sancho back into the fold. They're also unhappy as well with the little spat, if we can call it that, he had with Anthony Martial at St James's Park. I don't know if you saw the footage. There was an incident during the game, I think it was in the first half, where him and Martial exchanged words. He was shouting at Martial, and Martial seemed to sort of push back a little bit. I think that might be overblown a little bit, this spat, this argument. I'm not so sure, because I think you get a little bit of that. It doesn't look great, though. The optics of it, a player sort of pushing back on a manager when he's getting instructions from the touchline. And apparently, according to this report, it's not just that, it's also the Jadon Sancho situation as well. Sancho, of course, training with the Resis or with the academy, having to eat his lunch from a lunchbox, having to get dressed with the doors locked and all this other nonsense because he's training with basically children. And some players are looking at it and going, why is he still carrying on? Might it now be time to bring him back? Sancho, apparently, according to this report, is training like a beast. I'm going to be honest with you, yeah? I don't like criticising Manchester United players and I don't like slagging them off. But I'm kind of done with Jadon Sancho, and I don't buy into this idea that he's training like a beast and doing all he can to get back into the Manchester United squad. We've seen pictures of him out on the town on, was it Friday night or wherever it was, which, okay, he can do that because he's not playing on a Saturday, but it doesn't look great as well. And also, this whole thing about, oh, the manager criticised his efforts in training, so he did a tweet and he calling out the manager and saying he's being made a scapegoat, and then he deleted it, but he won't apologise. It's nonsense. Like, if you truly believe you've been outdone by, you wouldn't have deleted that tweet. The fact you've deleted it and refused to apologise, the fact you've earned about £4 million since you've stopped playing for Manchester United, the fact you've never actually, in my opinion, shown anything like the form you showed at Dortmund, which got you a move to Manchester United in the first place, the fact that we're still hearing stories about how you were late for training and your attitude isn't the best it can be, and I hate using the word attitude as well, but let's call it as we see it, isn't great. There's been a recent interview with Matic as well, which is covered in the Metro. I think he spoke to YU Planet, whoever they are, and he said that when he was at the club, some players would turn up late, so some of the senior players, they had a chart on the wall where if you were late, you put money into a kitty, and they used that kitty to go out on a Christmas do. And he said they collected around £75,000. I shouldn't think how much was going into that kitty and how many times people were late. And he said the main culprits for being late were Paul Pogba and Jadon Sancho. So it's not just one or two people that are saying Sancho was late. We had the report in The Athletic a few months ago. Nemanja Matic is saying it as well, and I don't see why I'd make that up. And you look at Jadon Sancho, and I know we've covered this a lot, but it's true. When he was at Dortmund, he was one of the brightest young players on the planet. I think it was 36 goal involvements in 39 games in his last season at Dortmund, helping them to win the Dutch. That would be an achievement, helping him to win the Dutch Cup, helping him to win the German Cup. I think he even scored in the final as well, a couple of goals. He was a phenomenal player, and he was part of that sort of triumvirate of Jude Bellingham and Erling Haaland. You looked at them three players, you think the world's at the feet. Look at what Erling Haaland's gone and done. Unfortunately, he's probably the best striker in the world right now. Jude Bellingham, arguably the best midfielder in the world right now. And look at Jadon Sancho, training with the reserves. And we heard reports that when he was at Dortmund, they got him to room with Erling Haaland in the hope that Erling Haaland's professionalism will rub off on Jadon Sancho. And since he's come to United, we've not really seen anything like that. We've not really seen anything like the player that we saw at Dortmund. We've just seen little bits and moments in the game against Chelsea, the game against Leeds, game against Liverpool, big games, big teams. But he's not done it consistently. I don't think we've seen anything like the best of Jadon Sancho, and now he's not in the squad, and I don't even know if we're missing him that much. I know the report from Dave McDonnell says the players feel like we are. I'm not so sure, because I think even when he's in the team, he flatters to deceive. Get involved in the comments and let us know what you think. It just seems like we've got a situation at the minute at Manchester United where we're hearing these reports that we hear every single time under every single manager. You go back, just do a Google. United players unhappy with manager. United players unhappy with Jose Mourinho. United players unhappy with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. United players unhappy with Ralph Rangnick. We have these stories every single year under every single manager. The manager tries to get the players working harder, the players are unhappy. Now, I know I said earlier that they might have to take this story with a pinch of salt, but it does seem true to form in the sense that every season, when things start getting tough, the players don't want to know. And it pains me. It does. And I don't want to get all melodramatic and sort of crass about it, but you look at what happened recently. We lost Bobby Charlton. So Bobby Charlton, a player who epitomised everything that was great about Manchester United, about that thing of rising from the ashes, about never giving up. The guy who went through the worst tragedy you can imagine, lost his teammates, lost his best mate Duncan Edwards, and within a few months he was back at Manchester United. He was playing for Manchester United. Within 10 years it helped us win the European Cup. That's what Manchester United has been about. It's been about showing that bit extra, being able to overcome adversity, being able to defy the odds. We've always done it. You know, Roy Keane did his cruciate. A year later he helped us win the treble, helped us get to the Champions League final, even when he knew he wasn't going to play in it, because he'd been booked. What did he do in the semi-final? He pulled his socks up and got us to that final. And now we've got a bunch of players, it seems to me, don't have that right sort of Manchester United desire and fighting spirit. But they can prove me wrong. They can prove me wrong on Wednesday against Chelsea. Sorry for having a bit of a rant, but when I see these stories, when I see these reports year in, year out, as a Manchester United fan, it just deflates me, it really does. And I hope the reports are wrong, I hope the players are up for it, and I hope we beat Chelsea on Wednesday, and I hope Eric Ten Hag comes out fighting today in his press conference. Anyway, that's enough from me. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We're going to be back later on today with Stephen Howson. Don't worry, he's got a few things to say on Howson versus. Don't you worry about that. I've been Jay Marty. This has been the Paper Talk outside a pretty drizzly Old Trafford. Thanks for watching.